All right, so we're going to do this homework assignment, which is practice with preterite versus imperfect. I'm on the worksheet 2.5, and that is page 25 at the bottom there. So before we get started, let's just quickly write down maybe a few little notes about when to use imperfect and when to use preterite. Now, I know we haven't talked about it this chapter again, but I think just to make it all-encompassing, let's write water loads down, and we can also review it in a different way if you want. So, the water loads method, first of all, the W is weather. A is age. T is telling time. E is emotions. So if I'm mad, I'm imperfect. R is repeated action. L is location. O is ongoing action. A is attitude, which is a lot like emotion. Description. And date. And setting or background. And preterite, of course, I've got bossy, which is beginning or ending action. O is one time in the past. S is specific or specific time. S is also sudden or distinct. And I is interrupting. Now I'm going to look at the notes that we did in class and kind of make sure we've covered everything here. So the first thing in our notes was habitual actions, and that would be the R in water loads, which is repeated actions. The second thing in our notes was time, location, weather, mood, age, physical description, and mental description. So I've got descriptions, time, date. Time and date is kind of the same thing. Location is taken care of. Weather is taken care of. Age, time. Mood would be emotions and attitude. And the only other thing that I have for imperfect would be a setting or background, which could also be a description. And it could be an ongoing location, an ongoing action would be kind of a repeated action, or it could be something that gets interrupted by the interrupting preterite action. So that covers everything from water loads. If memorizing water loads works for you, then great. For bossy, I've got a sequence of actions, which it doesn't say here, so you could memorize that, sequence of actions. Maybe we rewrite this to be bossy. Anyway, you've got a past action that's completed, so it was a beginning and an end action, it's done. It's a one-time thing. And then specific actions speaks best to the little keywords that goes with it, like una vez or el sábado pasado. And the sudden or distinct action just goes really well with the words like de repente or de repente. And again, those are probably going to be followed by an interrupting action. And again, they're going to say a specific time. A specific time indicates that it happened at that one time and it's over with. All right, so let's start on this. All right, so I've got my trusty little cheat sheet on the left here while I'm filling this out. Obviously, you can't do that during the test, but while you're doing your homework, it's a good thing to do. So I've got this here with me, and I'm going to look at the first one. ¿Qué pasó? So this is María le explica a su amiga Carmen por qué llegó tarde a la clase de arte. Maria is telling her friend Carmen why she got to class late. Complete their conversation with the preterite or the imperfect. And let me say something real quick. You're going to see an overwhelming number of a certain kind. You're either going to see a lot of preterite or you're going to see a lot of imperfect here. That's kind of how conversations go. So don't get freaked out when you don't see enough imperfect or enough preterite, okay? Just follow the conversation. So Carmen says to Maria, ¿Qué pasó? What happened? Something about arrived late to class, right? So she's saying, I saw that you arrived late to class. What do you think that is? Is that a one-time action or is that a ongoing action? It's a one-time action. So I saw that you arrived late to class. And did I arrive late to class or was I arriving late to class? I arrived late that one time. So, llegaste. And I'm saying it in the yo form because I'm Maria, right? But llegaste because she's talking to Maria. Que tú llegaste. And there's the two right before the blank there. Okay. And Maria, that's me, answers with, yeah, I left my house on time, but the bus arrived late. So if I left the house on time, how many times did I leave the house? Once. I wasn't running late. I wasn't busy. I left the house on time. So yo salí de mi casa a tiempo, pero el autobús arrived late. Again, it arrived late that one time. When I entered into the classroom, how many times did I enter into that classroom? Just the one. So, cuando entré en la sala de clases, los estudiantes ya blank sentados. So now I'm saying that the students were already seated, right? First of all, that's kind of me telling the setting of what the classroom looked like. I'm giving a description of what the classroom looked like, a physical description if you want. But also, if you think about it, the kids were already sitting down, right? And it also can be an interrupting action, because here's your interrupting action right here, right? The kids are sitting down in the classroom, happy as clams, and all of a sudden I come in late. So, estaban sentados. All right, next up. Creo que blank las 9:10. All right, so I think it was 9:10 when you arrived. Well, clearly I'm talking about a clock here, which means it's time, and time is automatically imperfect. So it's going to be the imperfect of ser, which is eran. And it, like I said, I think I said this the other day, it might have been in Spanish too. Pretty much whenever I'm talking about time, it's almost always going to be plural, right? Because my hours are usually not going to be 1 o'clock. So most likely it's going to be plural. In this case it is. So eran las 9:10 cuando llegaste. One thing I haven't talked about on this page is I obviously know all these verbs. I know that V doesn't have an accent. I know that salir does. You have to study your verb charts. If you still don't know your verb charts, you need to spend some time getting used to them. There is a writing portion on your test that's like this, fill in the blank. I think it gives you the verb, but you have to still choose imperfect versus preterite and then make that conjugation happen. Okay, so it's a big deal. Please spend the time on that. All right, creo que el profesor blank enojado. What does enojado mean? Hopefully y'all know what that means. If not, that would be one that you'd ask me and I would tell you. Angry. So the professor was angry. And what is that? That's a emotion. So he is sad or angry. That's an emotion. That's imperfect. So estaba. No sé si viste como me. So I don't know if you saw how he looked at me when I entered late. So he looked at me. How many times did he look at me? One time. He looked at me late. He looked at me when I entered late. So that's one time, and it's he looked. So me miró. Yeah, I saw that he stopped painting. So how many times did he stop painting? Stopping something is pretty easy to pick. It's a preterite word. So dejó de pintar. All right, and then so I saw that he stopped painting, and he put his paintbrush and palette on the table. So again, how many times did he put that? That's a one-time action, and it has a begin and an end to it. So puso is the Leos dead form. And then I say, yeah, the professor didn't say anything, but his eyes expressed his feelings. So he didn't say anything. Again, how many times did he talk? He talked one time. This is all like, can you imagine this happening? You're getting to class late, your teacher's upset. Upset is clearly imperfect because it's an emotion, but everything else that happens, the teacher looks at you, they give you a look, they put their paintbrush down, they put their, palette down, they stop doing what they're doing, and all this stuff happens. Like, that's one thing that happened one time and then it was over with. All the students seated, they continue to be seated the whole time. They're still sitting there. That's an ongoing action. So anyway, he didn't say anything, but his eyes expressed what he was thinking. And his eyes are doing the expressing here, so it's plural. Okay? But it's not the imperfect. Even though you're thinking about feelings right now, I'm not actually saying his eyes were sad. I'm saying his eyes expressed the feeling. His eyes are doing the verb here, and they're doing the expressing, and in that moment, they express that feeling. All right. Yeah, said Carmen. He something his workshop at 9, as always, as is custom. So, he started his workshop on time, and how many times do you start something? Usually just the once. So he started it as always. Now, if I said some kind of past tense sentence like, my professor used to start his class every day at 9, then it becomes imperfect. But all my friend is doing is saying, yeah, he started his workshop on time. That means it started, it was over. Not used to, he started it. All right. Oh no, I hope that the teacher isn't mad at me. His workshop, his art workshop is my favorite class. I have to talk to him to explain to him why I arrived late. Again, how many times did I arrive late? Just the once, so it's llegué. And that is that one.